And welcome back, everybody. My name is Raze Chaos. You've made it back to my channel, and today we've got a little fun one going on here. A while back, Raze has been known to hit the Dollar Tree sometimes, and he went ahead and grabbed the little Dollar Tree, dollar store, whatever the heck it is. He found Masters of the Universe toys. He's shown off his DC characters that he has gotten in that respect. The Transformers, he did that one as well. But they also had Masters of the Universe characters. So Raze went ahead and grabbed him up some. I mean, I would love these so much more if they didn't limit them to like 5 characters.
It's all my fault. Please don't tell Man-at-Arms.
I mean, come on. Give me a bunch of these. I mean, do it up. I don't know. It just seems to me, it just seems a little, why? So, yeah, I mean, they don't give you enough characters to actually set up, like, a decent scene. I mean, it's cool. You get the initial excitement of finding the first batch of them, because you see them, you're like, oh, what other characters do they have? And then it's 5. It's just enough to really be like, oh, well, they've got a couple of these. But at the same time, when you just sit there with your 5, then you want more. So, yeah, that's kind of how it worked in this case. But yeah, Raze was able to get Orco, Merman, Man-at-Arms, Skeletor, of course.
Am I supposed to be frightened?
And He-Man, which He-Man, it wasn't like this when I bought it, but like the little blister package, like popped open when I was setting this down to get ready to do the video, which, well, it's Dollar Tree, what do you want?
Just what everybody needs, a magical island holiday.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and go through these, talk a bit about each character, yeah, we'll just make this a short, sweet, fun little video.
Come on, Battle Cat. An Eternian snail can move faster than this.
I can't help but think I was going to do more for this, but yeah, nothing has come to mind. I am curious as to why they did Merman, though, because I mean, he's not especially an exciting character.
You don't like my little ones? Well, they like you.
He did turn up to be like maybe a step up of Beastman, but honestly, I would have rather had Beastman in this set than anything, because Beastman was very clearly Skeletor's lackey and who he would, send out for stuff. Man-at-Arms makes sense. Orco kind of pretty much makes sense, because he's kind of a little aggravating little individual. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and put this guy away, and we're going to have a look at the... No, Skeletor is not your dad. No, Skeletor is not a nice person.
Listen, I am not nice, I am not kind, and I am not wonderful.
There's no relation. I don't care. The resemblance is passing, I guess, but you're not anywhere near. You're not Skeletor. You're not Skeletor's level. No. You're not. I'm very sorry. Oh, get mad. I don't care.
Magic, and I think I know who may be at the bottom of this.
Kind of want to start out with Skeletor, but, well, since He-Man's already out, let me just go ahead and tear into the He-Man character, since he's decided to bust loose anyway.
You're a loser, Skeletor.
And there's really not much to say about He-Man. I mean, he is the flagship character of the Masters of the Universe. He is the focal point. I haven't seen these things to see that I didn't even notice this in the package, but the little feet thing that they have actually says Master of the Universe on it. So I guess that's kind of cool. He's in a nice little pose where it's just like holding back.
Hey up there! I don't like people who destroy trees.
I'm checking out the back here, and it looks like maybe that's supposed to be where he puts his sword, you know, because he always puts it back there. But usually when you're watching the cartoon, there's a full-on sheath back there. But in this case, there's not. I would have preferred that, or, you know, more or less like they did the toys, kind of the way Funko does it, where they make the accessories and everything look exactly like the toys did. That would have been super cool. But yeah, other than this, it's just kind of like, well, where does Superman? There's a reason I made that slip, which I'll get to. But it's maybe that's where he put his where he slides the sword in, being a thin little thing on his back instead of a full-on sheath like he did in the cartoon. Getting back to that, one of the things that when the Masters of the Universe came out, there was a whole lore going on when they were first creating the Masters of the Universe, and you know, they had the figures they were gonna do, and they were creating this toy line. They thought it'd be really cool. They had their own thing basically, and as they were in production, they hired another guy who I don't remember his name. I don't believe. He was, however, a writer for DC. And the DC influence on the Masters of the Universe is undeniable. For one thing, the whole Prince Adam He-Man thing, yeah, that was DC. I mean, in the cartoon, you look at it, it's just kind of like, how can you not tell that Prince Adam is freaking He-Man? He doesn't even wear glasses. He just puts on some pink tights, and suddenly he, I mean, I understand that he transforms, but at the same time, he basically looks like he just changed clothes. Got the same hairdo, everything, all the way down to it. And yeah, the influence didn't just stop there, because Superman. He-Man, I keep calling him Superman. I don't know why. But, He-Man being the flagship character, and then they did have a whole crossover with Superman and He-Man, Superman going to Eternia. They did that in the Brave and the Bold, I believe, or something like that. No, that would be DC Comics Presents, because Brave and the Bold was Batman team-ups, DC Presents was Superman team-ups. And then World's Finest was Batman Superman team-ups. I am going to stop, because I still have a little bit of DC stuff for you in this case. And yeah. The other really big influence that changed, that was added later on, was Prince Adam's twin sister, who is also imbued with the power of Grayskull, and gets the power and becomes She-Ra. Yeah, that's not Superman, but it is a certain Captain Marvel, i.e. Shazam, I suppose. That's where that came from. That was where the influence came. That was a spinoff of the Shazam, Captain Marvel whole thing of Billy Batson having a sister who also is imbued with the power, and for the magic power to change into a hero. So those are two of the biggest influences that the creators that were working for DC wanted to bring over to the Masters of the Universe line. Obviously the She-Ra thing came a little bit later, but yeah, that's where those influences most definitely came from. It would be easy to look at Skeletor and think that that came from Marvel, but very clearly, when it starts with the flagship characters, the influences, yeah, it's very obviously DC played a heavy part in the creation of this. So here is He-Man, i.e. Superman, for the Masters of the Universe. Oh, man. DC really isn't the best as far as tossing out those, you know, those secret IDs, I guess you'd say. A lot of them are really easy to kind of see through, but at the same time, I mean, what do you want? Trying to be in disguise would be difficult no matter what universe you're in, including this one, because it's not as easy to do as fantasy kind of makes it look. So if we've got our first guy up there, we've got He-Man right up at the front, and he's got his pose.
Tila, could you put your finger here for a second?
So obviously next up we have the big bad himself. We have Skeletor.
You flea-bitten fur-brain.
And Skeletor's really come into his own.
I don't forget those who refuse to help me.
As far as like cartoon baddies go, you can't get too much. It can't get too much higher than Skeletor.
No, you're not to do anything until I tell you to, understand?
He has so many wicked barbs. He's got so many, yeah. And that laugh. I mean, come on. That laugh. That is full on. Skeletor he's really taken on a life of his own.
Back up, muscle boy.
I've seen plenty of those memes where, you know, you've got the remember, you know, yeah, there are plenty of little videos out there of him just being evil where he's like, until we meet again. Like, it's perfect.
Dolts, half-wits, bunglers.
And his history is a little bit convoluted. In some places, he's Keldor. I think that's the expanded, bigger, Master of the Universe lore that they had, where you know, after the cartoon series ended and they continued to make more background stuff for the Masters of the Universe to, you know, flesh it out a little bit more. You know, they've got Keldor, who he is before he is Skeletor, and his relation to the royal family, all that fun stuff. Don't really want to get into that too much because, you know, I mean, these are Dollar Tree action figures, or little figurines, so I don't really want to go too deep into it. But Skeletor is a character that you can't just talk about and dismiss. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take him out because it just feels wrong keeping him backed up in here.
No matter. That clumsy oaf has served his purpose.
Okay, in this case, the back really does have like the little strap, the little bit where in the old toy, it had the little button in the back to keep his little chest thing on there, and that is very visible and obvious and very similar to He-Man's, only it's a little bit easier to tell that is just basically because it's got it on the lower one too, of, you know, just how you put them on as far as the figures go. So I really appreciate that. I like that a little bit more. I don't like that it's just the hood, but then again, that is exactly the way it was in the cartoon, in the actual toy. So can't complain too much like that. Yeah, like everybody just kind of loves the ridiculously evil that Skeletor has become.
I am not nice.
And it really has grown into a life of its own, because regardless of how many different ways you've got the figure going, the lore going on behind it, pop culture just never ends. And to say that he's not been an influence on Raze would be an absolute lie, because yes, this is what would Skeletor do. Diabolical ways to master the universe.
Of course, you worthless hunk of fur. Books are the real treasures of the world.
And, yeah, this is... this was a fun little book. Raze was originally planning on buying for his younger brother, who passed a couple of years ago. Yeah. It actually ended up coming to me because another relative saw it and knew that I would love it just as much. But, of course, getting it on Christmas kind of like, pop, reminded me why I had originally known about it. Which is awesome. And, you know, it was a really great gift. They just had no idea why Raze originally saw this. So it gave me a little bit of a reminder on Christmas of somebody he doesn't have in his life anymore. And dearly misses. But at the same time, it's absolutely a perfect book. And had Raze been able to give this to the person that he had meant to, he would have gotten one for himself. And it's very, very, very appropriate. I'm not going to go through this entire book, but I will just give an excerpt real quick. In this case, it's Things Getting Uncomfortable. If you are about to get caught doing something naughty, or your significant other at a party getting your I want to leave, or your significant other at the party isn't getting your I want to leave signal, just escape through a magic portal and leave them to their own devices.
Well, my job's done. Glad I could help, He-Man. Now I must return to the mirror.
This is actually a thing that Raze has done in the past, and he has done since he was much younger. Raze does go through his antisocial moments, and one of the things that he used to do, and he had this going on with his little friend group at the time. When Raze would get really, really bored, say at a party or at some kind of gathering or anywhere he just didn't want to be, but he was with a group of people. So, you know, it's kind of like, how do you get out of that when you're with a group? Well, Raze figured out a way. He would just slip away. He would just, yep. 1 minute he's there, 1 minute he's not. And the next time you saw him, they're like, "Hey, where did you go?" and everything. And it turned into a game. And the game was just a little bit too easy. So, what the game was called, even though only Raze would actually put this, is he would refer to it as doing a ninja vanish. And the thing about doing a ninja vanish is when you are just not having a great time and you just want to disappear, but you don't want to interrupt anybody else. You don't want to draw attention to the fact that you're leaving. In certain friends groups, they're going to stop you. And they're going to be like, no, stay with us. Well, Raze decided that if they really wanted him there, they would notice him leaving. And so Raze wanted to give them a chance. So Raze wanted to give them a chance before he just disappeared. So what he would do is he would actually say out loud, "Ninja Vanish."
Who's there?
And as per the rules of said game, Raze could not leave undetected without saying Ninja Vanish first. It's because if he was truly able to say Ninja Vanish out loud and then leave, then they truly weren't paying enough attention anyway, and he could slip out. And therefore, he wouldn't feel any guilt about disappearing on people. And, yeah, he still yeah, Raze still does this on occasion, and he still actually says out loud, "Ninja vanish" before he does it. So, that's a little influence that was inspired, in a roundabout way by Skeletor, even though I just read that for the first time, and had no idea it was going to actually hit on... The whole idea was I was just going to open up the book and read one bit and not realize that that would hit a lot closer to home than it did. Raze really is evil.
This is becoming a wonderful day for evil.
But it's just tongue in cheek. It's a lot of fun to do, and Skeletor just never goes away. So he's gonna be there. He's gonna show up. He's gonna do his thing, and who cares? So I'd have to say that Skeletor is easily my favorite character from the Masters of the Universe line. Raze initially, when he was getting Funkos, he wasn't going to go with the Masters of the Universe stuff, but he just couldn't resist with all the Skeletor stuff that they've put out. That's just not fair, people. Come on. This is probably the main reason why Raze got the other 4, was so he could have his little Skeletor. And I'm sure there are people out there that 100% agree with that.
Honest men do an honest day's work, or I destroy their village.
Bam! That's Skeletor in a nutshell. Evil, powerful. Went into a little bit about how he, in the expanded lore, he is related to the Eternian royal family. But before that, even then, they essentially made him the servant of Hordak. Before the cartoon series started, they had let it be known that the evil horde was already something that existed, and Skeletor was part of that before rebelling against that. So basically making 2 evil groups, which makes sense because of his little bat-like shapes on his little chest plate. It's just really cool. Even when it was just a cartoon, there was a deeper lore in there. And they just got deeper the more they explored. So that is Skeletor, and that is just too much fun. I mean, Skeletor makes everything better.
I want you to witness the effects of my genius firsthand.
He's so nice. He's wonderful.
Fights are fun. I like fights.
And I think next up we're just going to go ahead and go with Man-at-Arms here. I always found it fascinating that he, for being as little as there was to him overall initially, one of the most confusing things that Raze as a child had to wonder was, they have it here, they have his mustache on this figure, but they didn't have it in the original toy. He was just Man-at-Arms. But I believe that when they were going through with the character design for the cartoon series, that it made sense that he be singled out, because essentially he basically looked like any other Eternian soldier at the time.
We must talk this over.
And Man-at-Arms, of course, was the right hand to the king, and they had to differentiate him, so they gave him a mustache. They actually gave him a name Duncan, which, more often than not, you're just going to see Man-at-Arms and not Duncan, which I always found that really strange that they did that. And the toy actually didn't have a mustache. So even as a kid playing with this stuff, it was just kind of like, why does he have a mustache in the cartoon but not in the on the toy? He serves as the right hand man to the king, the leader of everything. They basically put him in a very important role, let's go ahead and pop this out and have a look at him. I always loved his little mace that they gave him, even though you almost never saw it in the cartoon. I always thought that was kind of cool, but like at the same time, like it's just a club. But yeah, they basically they with the character design, he is the great tie everything together character. He is like essentially the for one thing, he knows Superman. I did it again. He knows He-Man's secret identity is Prince Adam, and he is basically there to when things go wrong to remind King Randor that, hey, Prince Adam has to do his homework or something like that. Just kind of giving him his out to disappear so he can go change into He-Man. He's also Teela's father, which I always kind of thought it was odd that, you know, there was the whole romance brewing between He-Man and Teela, and at the same time, her dad's right there and doesn't see a problem with keeping the secret between Prince Adam and He-Man from Teela. I always thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, he was Teela's father. He was King Randor's right-hand man. He was basically a very, very trusted member of the inner circle, and I think that was primarily just to be able to. He was always the reason that everybody could keep the secret, because he would be the one that would be like, "Oh, you know what? Well, you know, you should go to the bathroom real quick because we are not really needed here, Prince Adam." I mean, that was primarily his thing. He would give explanations as to why Prince Adam wasn't there during the battle.
We found Skeletor's Doombuster in the woods. He must be nearby.
He would be the voice of reason. He would be the they'd always have a reason for him to be able to further the plot. Even if He-Man was getting a little too much in any direction, Man-at-Arms was there to pull him back or make an excuse as to why some character is getting a little too weird. Yeah, I mean, he was really more of a tool than anything else. And I apologize for calling you a tool.
He-Man, I don't understand.
And next up we go with Merman, which there is plenty to talk about here.
Keep still, and everything will be alright. Got it?
When I mentioned earlier about how Skeletor used to be with Hordak, and he, rebelled, so you had these two different large groups of evil characters. Merman was set to be along with that. I don't think he was originally supposed to be part of, Skeletor's little group.
Oh, he's gone. Who does that cabbage think he is?
He is a Sea King. So obviously, being able to live under the water, he was able to have a kingdom of his own that nobody else could really mess with unless they were able to survive underwater. They did in the cartoon give him a full-on tie to Man-at-Arms, where Man-at-Arms, as a young man, had stopped him from performing a sacrifice, which would have given him a power level that would have put him on par or more so with Skeletor.
Oh, He-Man is always ruining my action.
And I think that was the big excuse as to why Merman was actually backing up and working with Skeletor at the time.
Obey, master!
It's just your basic. You needed a water character as far as having the villains, because just much like the comics, like I said, comics had a specific like heat villain. You had the cold villain. You had the, you know, whatever, the gimmicky villain type thing. He falls into this big time. We're just gonna go ahead and take him out real quick. And yeah, the DC connection doesn't end there when it comes to Merman. When they were designing the actual toy, which yes, that's you've got the whole backs and everything, just like they did in the toy. The character design for Merman was actually based around, well, it started with, basically they had Swamp Thing in mind when they were creating the design and the look for Merman. And it's heavily influenced. You can see it a bit in there. So yeah, so he is, I think they have like done in later versions where Merman isn't part of Skeletor's group, but he can be convinced to work with them. But I really think that he works better when you've got like an entire ocean full of creatures at your disposal. It makes no sense to bow to anybody. So it does make sense. And of course in the cartoon he was pretty much played off as a goof. And set out of a fish out of water, so to speak. Much like Aquaman is in the Super Friends, where it's just kind of like, yeah, you know what? It just doesn't make sense to have this character on land. So yeah, he only really shines in the water. But most of the stories don't involve water, so they feel the need to get him to... it's very easy to make a character like that look goofy or silly because you take him out of his element. And I think, honestly, in Raze's opinion, that's a really cheap way of putting the odds slightly in the hero's favor or in the opposition's favor. Like... Yeah, they can beat Aquaman, he's not underwater. Yeah, they can get Merman, he's not in the water.
What are you looking for, Merman? Something I can test out, mate.
It's just like, why use the character unless you're just going to exploit his weakness? And or why use the character if that's all you're going to do with him? So while they did give Merman a couple places to shine, they, you know, essentially they kept him there because he had this very, very blatant drawback to him, so they could use him for comedy relief, that kind of thing. And it was, you know, I mean, it was a kid's show. Why wouldn't they take every easy opportunity they could? Makes total sense. But yeah, that's Merman. What you want me to say about him?
I could write a book about what you don't know.
I do believe one of the things that Raze realized when he was younger and he was doing that, and I think they have some kind of connection later on in some of the stories, and it was primarily done because the head mold that they did for Merman, you know, with the other characters you just did a quick repaint, and you could just basically have just about any other character you wanted. With Merman, there was a specific mold to him. And toy companies, they're not big on wasting the time and money to do that. So I think in order to justify that mold a little bit more, Merman, the Merman toy, and Stinkor have the exact same head mold, just obviously painted differently. And I believe that they used that in one of the later lores to explain some kind of relationship between the two characters, though Raze doesn't know what that connection is. And yeah, it was kind of formulated around the fact that they use the same head mold, and then they tried to write in the story why.
He-Man, I am your friend.
So that kind of explained as to why the characters had like this same or that was basically spun off of the fact that they had the same head mold, And then they just tried to write a explanation as to how the characters were related. Raze doesn't know because Raze hasn't gotten too deep into the Masters of the Universe stuff. It's one that he kind of like, pops in, pops out of. Maybe my curiosity will get the better of me and I will actually dig deeper into that in the future, but it wasn't enough for me to look it up before this video. He knew about the similar head thing and that they kind of made a connection, but even thinking about that, like Raze was just like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that before I watch the video or make the video, watch the video. Raze has to make the video before he can even watch the video, so...
Never mind what I said, just do what I said.
But we are going to get into one of the most aggravating characters ever to enjoy the screen. It is Orco.
Now we're cooking.
Orco is an enigma. He was very clearly originally basically being used as the comedy relief character. They do have that he is a member of a race, though that is like talked upon later. The strange thing about it is that when they did expand the Masters of the Universe cartoon into also accommodating She-Ra, the weird sorceress lady, evil magic woman on Etheria, I believe. I don't remember. I know that magic user in the evil character. I can't think of her name. I can see her, but I can't think of what her name is. In She-Ra, she was on the evil side. She was kind of like the evil Lynn over there. She sees Orco and cannot figure out what he is or where he's from. They have shown in the cartoon other people from Orco's world, but they leave so much a mystery as far as what Orco is, heck, what he even looks like.
We'll stop and rest.
You see his ears sticking out of the hat. He's floating. Does he have feet? I don't know. I think he does. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing like little feet when he got like knocked over or something. Yeah, he is basically, though I don't believe they've actually ever said it, he kind of takes after the Mxyzptlk type character, or Batmite from DC, where his magic tends to make things harder for the hero. Lot of questions with Orco, and yeah, he is another plot device that you can insert into any story.
Yeah, I hate cleaning my room. This could take all year.
We're gonna go ahead and take him out, and yeah, he doesn't have. He's not actually on a stand in the cartoon or anything. He doesn't actually have this stand holding him up. He just floats around and everything. I remember the actual action figure when I was a kid. It was kind of like one of those racer things where you pull the little thing out and it revs it up and it slides off. That was an Orco feature.
I wonder if there's something to play with in here. I'm tired of playing alone.
I do know that in some stories, later stories, there's certain things that aren't explained about Orco. They never explain why Orco knows that Prince Adam and He-Man are the same person. They've never really even addressed it. As to how Orco would know that, they've never shown how did he know that? Did Prince Adam tell him? Or, because, I mean, he's essentially the court jester on Eternia. And then in later stories, he obviously gets a much bigger role because of his magic. But in the cartoon, it's primarily bumbling magic. Where he tries to do this, but I mean, you've got this character that's floating everywhere. And and he can obviously use magical abilities the way on a huge level, because even bumbling, it's kind of like, how the heck does that even happen?
Magic, and I think I know who may be at the bottom of this.
I did see a later, I don't know if I went into this or not. I don't know, in a past video. I can't think of another time I've done an Orco video. But I do know that it was hinted at one point where, like Mixelpidlick, Orco comes from a race of beings that can manipulate reality.
Wow, it worked! Hey, let's go outside and play!
And one of the suggestions is that Orco is more or less one of the most powerful characters on Eternia. And that he is not, in fact, a bungler. That there is a greater plan going on, and he uses his bumbling magic to help further along what needs to happen. It's almost a sinister kind of overbearing hint to what Orco actually is. And yeah, I mean, they've explained that he's part of this race, but if this is a plot, then they would go along with whatever story they have going on with Orco, as far as putting him with King Randor. So that is always the big. That's kind of taken over Raze's outlook on Orco. That he's actually kind of pulling the strings a little bit more.
Uh-oh. What have I done?
Where Orco's kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes, or orchestrating everything that's going on, like the whole battle between Skeletor and He-Man is for somebody's almost like leading towards how a prophecy needs to be fulfilled. If he needs the bad guy to do this,
I don't need 4 minutes.
He basically makes sure that the bad guy knows of the existence, because he knows exactly how he's going to react. And if the villain needs to be stopped a certain way to do this, Orco's right there to make sure that that's how it plays out.
Why do I surround myself with fools? Even the robots are smarter than you.
This whole idea of him being a much larger player in the game, as a matter of fact, as if he is the game.
Any more questions?
But yeah, it was that theory all in itself that has kind of like led Raze to actually consider digging more into that whole aspect of it, because so this overlying the shadow over Orco, so to speak, makes me wonder a little bit more. And you trigger Raze's interest, and he goes deep. And he's been thinking about it for a while, and talking about it right now may just be the trigger that makes him dive deep. But for now, that's our 5 characters from the Masters of the Universe. We've got 3 from the good side. We've got Skeletor. And and by the way, this book is absolutely awesome. It's Rob Perlman. What Would Skeletor Do? Diabolical Ways to Master the Universe. This book is absolutely hysterical. And it's well worth the price of admission if you can get it. Check it out if you can. I thought it's available on Amazon. But yeah, this is another little Christmas present that Raze got. Didn't think he was going to put it in a video, but yeah, just kind of worked out that way. But yeah, if you get the opportunity, this is definitely one to check out. But let me know in the comments below, like, who your favorite character is as far as this goes. Tell me why it's Skeletor, because of course it's Skeletor. Actually, let me know if you've ever seen that book before, or if it's something that you think that, yeah, you'll probably enjoy. You're probably going to need to check that out, because of course you will. This is what you should live your life by. What would Skeletor do? It makes absolute sense. But at any rate, Raze is going to go ahead and get out of here now. A lot of big changes are coming to the channel, and they may come slowly, they may come quickly. You never know. But Raze will say at this point that it is April, and anything can happen now. You don't know what you're gonna see when you step on this channel. It's about to get weird. But I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here now. But never forget, the life is full of odd moments, and you never know when you're gonna be defined.